Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, a place where you can come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker, and welcome to episode 56, Living It Out. It's not real until you make it happen. All right, so as you know, all month we're talking about healthy self-confidence, a topic very near and dear to my heart, and again, I think at the core of what this whole podcast is really all about. And I know I've touched on it in different ways this past year, everything from boundaries to grief work and everything in between. And it's great to talk about confidence, but at some point the rubber needs to hit the road and it needs to be real. And so this week we're going to talk about ways to show yourself and the world that you are serious, you are ready, you mean it. About making what you say you want in your life or what you want to change in your life, what you want to create in your life, what you want to get rid of, is tangible and real now. Now, the process of getting here, and my clients get frustrated with this all the time. They're like, how long is this going to take, Mary? We are getting ready to be ready to be ready. Every inch of this process matters, and you won't see it until down the road when you look back. When we finally get to the point of making it real and making it tangible, I think it energizes us and gives us hope. You are also doing something very tangible. You're showing your subconscious that it's actually possible. Remember, you've heard me talk many times, like, you can't BS your subconscious. You need to be careful about what you tell it and be realistic and honest, or it's going to be looking at you like you're right. It's not going to believe you. It's going to blow it off, and it's going to continue to sabotage your efforts. So now, as you show your subconscious that you are actually taking steps and you're not effing around with this anymore, it has to believe you and support you by giving you more energy, by pointing out new things in your environment, by helping you, and this is so cool, solve problems, find new solutions, have those insights, those ahas, those epiphanies. You know what I'm talking about. That's how your subconscious is helping you. Now, no matter where you believe these things originally come from, they get processed through your subconscious. That's all you need to worry about today. All right, so before we dive in, I just want to take a moment and speak to those clients of mine right now. And I want you to know that I am utterly amazed at your courage, your determination, and your grit, blended with your beautiful vulnerability to take some big, scary steps in your life and to finally honor yourself by making your life look very different. And so I just want to speak out to my clients who are really, really working hard, and I see that. Keep going. You inspire me. And you are inspiring those around you, and you may not even know it. All right, so let's dive in. So remember, empowerment comes from doing. When we finally take an action, we get that experiential data, that living proof that you often need to see that you can actually do this. Empowerment comes from taking small steps and building confidence. Now, I want to stop here for a moment and say, yeah, sometimes we have to do the grand gesture. Sometimes it's either or. Sometimes you take that new job or you don't. Sometimes you leave that relationship or you don't. But my argument is even to get to do those things and rip the big Band-Aid off, we are often taking smaller steps that we may not even see. I mean, one of those steps could originally be talking to ourselves and saying, hey, I really need to do something about this. I can't go back into denial. I can't rationalize it anymore. I can't make it okay. And then maybe 2 days later, you call a friend and you cough that up, okay? You put it out there. Every little step needs the one before it. Remember that. I found that it takes away some of the anxiety of taking a step. You're like, I'll figure it out as I go. It's okay. And what I mean by that is a lot of people get stuck or they don't get started because of their rigidity. The black and white, perfect or horrible fear, where I have to know exactly how to do this and do it perfectly or I'm not doing it. And that's the opposite of taking a healthy risk. It doesn't mean you don't plan. It doesn't mean you don't ask for guidance. It just means that I can also figure it out as I go. I can change things. I can tweak things. And we get kind of clear about, okay, some things aren't as undoable as others, but there are often ways to make small changes as I go. I can learn. I'm figuring things out. It's no different, guys, than getting on-the-job training. I've used that concept before where your first job when you were a teenager and it was really scary the first couple of weeks, but then, 3 months later, you knew what you were doing. You figured it out. Some things you learned the hard way, some things you screwed up, but you learned as you went and you became more empowered. You saw new ways of doing things. You realized things. You put 2 and 2 together. And here's the thing. We are changing as we go too. Whenever you do something different, whenever you take a risk or go after something, you expand your self-concept immediately. You've heard me talk about that in earlier episodes. Because you just showed your brain that, oh, wow, we can do this. So what does that mean, right? It's what we attach to it. If I can, let's say, for example, eat healthier this week, that means I can eat healthier, right? It's possible. I actually did it. If I kept my car clean for a month or my bills paid on time, it means that I can do it. It, I think, eradicates a lot of the irrational fears that we may have. Maybe some real fears. Maybe 2 years ago, you weren't ready to be that organized, but today you are. So you start to see what you are actually capable of, which is probably more than you realize, probably more than you let yourself imagine. And I think this is really important because here's the truth. Here's the actual proof of what you can really do. And remember, we are evolving as humans. We always want healthier and more and better as we go. That's what's so cool. Don't worry, that will pull you along. You will evolve. It's going to get better. I've used the horrible concept of plastic surgery, where people sadly, I'm sure, don't set out to do 16 surgeries and then really regret every one of them when they're done. It just never is enough. The perfectionism drives that. Now, in a healthier way, the desire for healthier is going to pull you along. So don't worry, you're going to evolve. That's what's great. And some of this, right, is allowing the process to show up for you, that the universe will help make it happen if it's time and if it's for your highest good, that people will show up when you need them if you're ready and you ask. I know those are belief statements, but I've experienced it many times in my life, so I personally believe that. All right, so comes down to how do we make it real? The first things we need to do are create some really powerful choice statements that guide your efforts, okay? When I look at choice statements, I'm taking personal responsibility for my choices. Now, I'm sure if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that is safely assumed, that we own all of our choices. We own the bennies and the consequences of every choice that we make. But here's what gets tricky here. So I have bennies and consequences of each choice I make. But remember that crazy payoff, right, which isn't good for us? it may be perceived as a Benny, but it ends up being a consequence. So here's an example. So the benefit of not putting myself out there protects me, right? It protects me from feeling vulnerable. It protects me from possible rejection, of failure, and of ultimate abandonment. Because rejection and failure and being vulnerable, my big fear is I'm going to be abandoned and I'm not going to be okay. So it really is a consequence, because here's the gig. That's all great, but I'm abandoning me if I'm doing that. I'm not helping me or anyone else because I'm choosing not to take a risk. Conversely, the real benefit would be something that would move me forward, raise my confidence. Because here's the kicker, and you know this, you cannot play it safe and feel good about yourself. You can't crawl back into the box and not have anxiety, ironically. We know with agoraphobia, people don't start out not leaving the house. They get there slowly but surely by making their world smaller and smaller. And what's crazy is, but it makes sense to me, their anxiety gets worse, folks, not better. There's that temporary, I'm safe, but it just fuels the fear. And I also think underneath of that is letting yourself down. I deep down believe that we know what we're capable of, really. We just don't want to look at that. And we're afraid to risk actually making that happen. But you will not feel as confident as you possibly can and have the life that you feel really great about and feel like you're in the zone and using your gifts and living out your purpose if you're playing it safe. So every choice that we make has bennies and consequences. And the other aspect to that is it's not going to be, and we all want this, having our cake and eat it too. Some people are going to be unhappy with us. We're going to have to let go of things that aren't working for us sometimes in order to make things happen. The two examples I gave earlier, leaving a toxic relationship or taking a new job. You know, you have to leave what you're doing now to take that job. And you may be in a great place where you love your coworkers, but you really need to make more money or be challenged, right? So the loss has to be incurred in order to gain the new job. Leaving the relationship is usually not cut and dry. There's lots of losses. I don't care who we're with. So there's bennies and consequences in every choice. All right, so first, get straight with what your choices are. And don't have 52 of them, please. That's overwhelming. But let's say you have 3. Let's say somebody wants to feel more confident and their physical body is, in their mind, getting in the way of that, okay? So their overarching goal is they want to be healthier. So their 3 choices would be, I need to start exercising, I need to eat better, and maybe get better sleep, right? So my metabolism's better. So there's that person's 3 choices. You may have 3 to 5 different ones, and that's okay. Again, just don't make it 10. That's too much. Keep it 3 to 5 at the most. And we can always make this list different later, right? Okay, so here are some choice statements that I want you to think about creating for yourself, where you write them down very thoughtfully and you are reading them at least twice a day, if not 3. I have some people where they pop up on their phone at certain times through the day, so they have to look at that and remind them. It's even more powerful to read them to yourself in the mirror if you are gutsy enough to do that. So the first one is, I will do this one step. I will do it to the best of my ability. I'm not going to half-ass it. I will commit my time and my energy. I will hold that time sacred. I will decide what might get in the way. And that's really important. Let's get honest with ourselves first, because if not, we're going to trip ourselves up. Every time you set a goal, it's like, okay, I have this desire. Okay, what could get in the way of that? And sometimes our own sabotaging can get in the way. There might be some real obstacles like time and money and things like that. Other things can happen. Okay, so we have to get honest about that. So I will. And guys, with these, even if you're a little shaky, write them down anyway. Remember, you're going to grow into the new thinking. You're going to prove to yourself this stuff is so true, you're going to have to live it out. That's all you have to worry about. The next one is I am. I am. Not I might, not I want to, I am. Very affirmatively. I am capable. I am becoming more disciplined. I am committed. I'm in it for the long haul. This is no quick fix overnight thing. I am excited. I am so glad. I am so looking forward to being healthier. I'm so looking forward to being debt-free. I'm so looking forward to communicating better. I'm so looking forward to going back to school, starting that new business, being more assertive. This is assertive work right here. It's great. All right, so I am. I want. Own the want, guys. Own the desire. I want to be proud of myself. I want to feel more confident. And most importantly, I want to show myself that I can do this. I want to resolve this internal conflict I've had forever of who I know I really am and what I've been living out, which doesn't match that. And finally, I know I can. I know I can. I can. I can do this. And your subconscious is going to want some good arguments here. I can do this because, number one, it's not rocket science. And tell yourself why. Maybe I've done something similar before and I could probably pull this off. I could figure it out. I've watched others do this, so I know it's possible. That's why copycatting's not a bad idea, guys. Sometimes we need to see someone else pull this off to where we think, oh, okay, well, I guess it is doable, right? It's not a pipe dream. She can do it. I can do it. He can do it. He's not very different from me because, you start comparing in a good way. I can because I'm in charge of me now. Now, remember I said early in the episode today that every moment counts and every step we take is necessary for the next one to happen? That's so true. I know I can do this now. And that is based on all the work you have done thus far. So it was not for naught ever. I'm in charge of me now. And finally, and this is a belief, if it's on my radar and won't leave, it must be time to do it. I firmly believe in that. I have talked to enough people over the years to get consensus, pretty much. It just shows up. It keeps bugging you. You dream about it. It keeps popping up in your mind. You keep seeing examples of it. It's the red car on the highway you keep seeing when you want to buy a red car. It's just time. It would not be put on your heart if you weren't ready to do it. Like I told a client the other day, I said, if you weren't ready to look at this, you would have found 52 ways to distract me in the conversation. You would have changed the subject or gotten off the call. Okay, we would have acted out or kind of, just switched to something else because you weren't ready. But if you're here and you keep thinking about it, it's time, guys. It's time. So I will, I am, I want, and I can. I will, I am, I want, and I can. Now, my hope is that if you're not in a place where you can write this down, that you replay this. And so you can really get that list going for yourself. It is such a gift for you. And that's what I care about the most, that you are honoring yourself and that you believe in yourself. So, more concrete things. We've got our choice statements together. We know where we want to go. We know what we're capable of. Now it's about taking the actual steps, right? About making it real. All right, guys. Well, first of all, there is no elevator. You can't rush this particular process. And don't try because you're going to get perfectionistic. You're going to get frustrated and anxious. Don't do it. Most things are not an easy, quick fix. Just committed efforts over time. Now, before I move on, you may need some smaller shots in the arm where you can get some instant gratification to feel like you have the hope and the energy and the wherewithal to tackle the bigger stuff, that's okay. I just want you to be wary of sidetracking yourself, like cleaning out the fridge when you need to make a very difficult phone call, okay? I mean, it's one thing to empower ourselves by cleaning the living room so we feel better and then we can go tackle the nasty closet that's a mess. But we got to make sure that we're not avoiding and diverting, okay? So committed efforts over time. And for me, I find it easier to have a visual representation because I'm visual. So I like a representation of the process that I'm about to do because for me, I think it simplifies and it structures what can often feel like an overwhelming goal. Like, how am I going to get there? So I think it keeps me focused and on task. Now, everyone is different. You may not be visual. And if you're not, and if these processes don't work for you, find one that does. There is no right or wrong way to do this, guys. There's a million different ways. And there's tons of stuff on the internet in terms of, structuring thoughts and outlines and whatever you want to do. Just trust what works for you. So I have two here. And the first one is what I call the STEP method, STEP. Okay. And STEP stands for simple. So I pare it down. It's not complicated. It doesn't have 52,000 parts. Okay. T is for timely. That I do each step in order because one builds upon the other. And I do one at a time. Now I know some processes you might have to do a couple things simultaneously, but for the most part, we're chunking it down to one thing at a time. E is for easier. It's easier to do this. It's easier to eat the elephant one bite at a time. And P is, this is the part that I do now. This is the piece of footwork I do now. And here we go. And you're not going to like this. I have to let go of the outcome, right? I'm just focusing on the step I'm on today. And I love Martin Luther King's quote, something to the effect of, don't look at the whole staircase. Just look at the next step. Step on that, then the next one, and eventually you'll be at the top. All right, so imagine a staircase where the bottom step is right in front of you. And it's kind of like an inverted triangle where that little first step is rather small and narrow. But as you go up the triangle, each step is larger and deeper and wider, whereas you look at the top step is very broad and tall. Because I think that that's how it works. We take small steps, but it starts opening up and expanding and getting bigger and badder and broader, and maybe even riskier, right? So if you're walking or, you're not in a place where you can do this, don't worry about it, because if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, go over to ownitpowercast.com and get the downloads. And there's worksheets for both of these processes for you to use, or you can do your own. All right. So the small steps we take today can build upon each other and, like compound interest, become greater as you go. It's like exponential. And I think this works great when you have a goal that is definitive. It includes concrete steps that someone has to take or changes to make, like exercising or decluttering or doing things on time. So those are concrete, actual steps, right? And what's cool about this is that each step you accomplish helps you feel more confident. I think it helps you feel more empowered. I know for me, I learn and I have hope and it gives me energy. The light at the end seems brighter because here's the thing. You're making it a reality, but you're also grabbing the discipline to make it a reality. Every time you commit and follow through on something you say you want or want to change or get rid of, you just loved yourself. You just honored yourself, which, guys, that will raise your confidence. And nobody gets to touch that. That's what's really cool. This is about no one else today but you. I also think as you move, you change. As you grow, you change. You're going to be different on the other side. We forget that sometimes. We think, I'm just going to get healthier. No, man, you're going to change a lot of things. So just get started. This could open up a whole new world. All right, so how to do this is take your triangle, and at the very top, I want you to write your overarching goal. Like, I want to get healthy. I want to get organized. I want to be more confident. And then back it down from that overarching goal okay, what do I need to get there? And what do I need to get there? What do I need to get there? Till you get down to the bottom step in front of you. And this may take a little time to figure that out. You may need to do some research. You may need to ask some questions. That's okay. But I want you to complete this exercise for the things that you want to do that are very concrete. Now, the other method is for things that I think are more abstract and more process-oriented. And the other method is what I call the swirl. No, not like the other swirl, a drama swirl I often talk about. But I think depending on who you are and what you're working on, that sometimes you're going to need a more creative, fluid, and I think like a non-linear approach. Like doing therapy work and doing personal growth, guys, a lot of this is not linear. I like it because this gives you room to groove. It gives you room to hop around, grab different aspects that you're going to need to work on or work through to get there. And sometimes you got to work on a couple different things at one time. So it's not a linear process. For example, if I'm working on being more assertive, I'm working on boundaries, I'm working on being emotionally honest, and I'm working on my fear, right? All at the same time in order to actually speak up. And a lot of things with personal growth, with the messy stuff, they're kind of like intertwined. Like you can't work on one without really working on the other kind of thing. And that's why I like the swirl process for this. All right, so this is like the yellow brick road in The Wizard of Oz that Dorothy starts out on. Do you remember that? With all the munchkins where it started out really tiny and the circle is like really small and tight. When I was a kid and I saw this movie for the first time, like, okay, how the hell is she going to get to Oz doing that? I didn't get it. Right, today I get it. And it's going to feel like that when you first go in. It's like I'm not making a lot of progress yet, but don't worry. It unfolds. It opens up. And eventually, just like the yellow brick road, it opened up and straight away, and finally they could see Oz off in the distance. Because here's why. It opens up and you take off because you are building momentum. That builds upon itself. It feeds upon itself. Someone who is becoming more assertive is eventually not going to be able to stand keeping their mouth shut, not being honest, being avoidant, people-pleasing, and they're going to want more and better. It's going to drive them. So swirl stands for, S is for simple. We're still keeping it really simple. You get one swirl per process, guys. The W is the why that drives you. Like a lot of this kind of work, there's a really strong why. We've got some pain under our belt, maybe that got us here. Some really strong desires. The I is for intuitive. This is more of a feeling, allowing things to happen process. It's very messy. It's very emotional sometimes. You know, it's not a concrete A, B, C. R is for real. This is the real stuff, guys. And L is for loving. And I say that because this is about loving yourself. Often the swirl works great for things that I'm trying to heal, to practice very vulnerable behaviors. So that's very loving. So when you get your hand out, I want you to start in the middle of the swirl. And I want you to look at the baby steps that you're doing, okay? And then as you go towards the outer part of the swirl, where you'd love to be. Like, for example, if I want to be more assertive, maybe in the beginning, I know I got to work on boundaries first because maybe I suck at those and I need to get them down. Maybe right now that's all I kind of want to work on. But then I realize, what about acknowledging what I need? So those are things. And eventually I want to be able to say no to that person. But towards the outer part of the swirl, there's that really difficult person I don't have the balls to face yet. Or that difficult situation I'm not ready to confront. So use your swirl however you want to. I don't want to dictate it too much because, again, that's your fluid process that I want you to own and create. All right. As you can see, I'm asking you to make it real, and I'm asking you to get started and take some steps. And I want you to know, just start where you are. Even if you'd like to be further along, even if you're not sure that doing this thing is going to get you over there, it will. Everything that you do today is going to help create a better tomorrow for you. So start where you are. Trust what is on your radar. It's there for a reason, guys. And again, you're probably not going to understand why without hindsight. Just trust that it's there to do now. Do it now. Just start. Just get started. Like everyone's talking about now. I don't do something necessarily because I'm completely motivated. Actually, by starting, I become more motivated. I can tell you that for myself, working out. I wasn't very motivated in the beginning. Now I really look forward to it. Okay, because I see the benefits. I feel better, feel healthier, I have more energy, I'm more focused. So motivation's often going to come after we get started. So just get started. Inertia is a thing, guys. Just get started. Just start somewhere. All right. So the final part in this process is we can't make these changes in a vacuum. We have to make it real by getting accountability around you. And I mean loving accountability. And you keep hearing me say, it ain't real till we put it out there. We can't keep everything in our head and our heart. So get 2 or 3 people around you. If you only have one, that's fine. Or try to join a support group or some kind of Facebook group or online forum where there's a sense of community and belongingness and support and encouragement and hope because you have other folks who are trying to work on this too. So either way, get some accountability around you. Left to our own devices, we'll probably let it fall by the wayside, get caught up with something else. And so we want to make it real by speaking it out there. Now, these are people who should not enable you sabotaging, nor do I want folks who are going to be harsh with you, codependent and judgy. You need people who have good boundaries, who can stay on their side of the street and support you in healthy ways. Support you for you, not them, not for them to fix you. There's a big difference there. And your gut will feel it when you're on the phone with them. That's all you need to know. So if you, by accident, ask someone for help and then it's not going well, you can graciously say, I think I'd like to talk about something else right now. So let's say you have your accountability folks. The first thing is do not keep it vague. You've heard me say, don't make it vague. It's not real if it's vague. It's kind of like we're manipulating. Yeah, I'd like to do that. There's a but at the end of that. I want you to be specific and I want you to be real and in reality. Instead of saying, yeah, I'd love to get healthier. You say, I want to be healthier by the end of the year. I really want to eat better. I really want to exercise and work out. Make it specific, make it actual, and make it real. The other thing with accountability is you can't just do that once. I want you to think about a schedule of when you're going to check in with them. But have a schedule. Once a week is usually pretty good. It keeps you going, gives you time to see how you did during the week, what you figured out, what you stumbled upon. It's not burdening someone else. It's not too stressful of having to do it every day or anything like that. And eventually, you're going to want to share your victories, too. That's what's really cool. All right, so what to share? Now, this is important. Remember your goals, and I want you to be very specific, and I want you to make it real. If it seems too big, chunk it down. Remember, you can have more than one goal, and you can do one at a time. And I want you to tell them your fears. This is what I'm afraid is going to happen. I'm afraid I won't be able to do it. I'm afraid I won't have time to do it. I'm afraid other people are going to be pissed at me if I don't do stuff for them and do stuff for me, all that kind of stuff. And then, depending on the safety of this relationship, what are your usual defenses, right? What's your typical MO or ways you like to sabotage yourself? And there's a million different kinds, guys. The biggest one is allowing other things to get in the way, other people asking you for something, allowing other things to become more important. And like I heard someone say the other day, which is so true, you're not procrastinating. You're just deciding something else is more important. Ouch. Reveal to them what usually gets in your way. A lot of clients tell me, I can start out like gangbusters, but then I fizzle out. I'm like, that's not real committed change. That's shiny thing. And so whatever your deal is, put it out there, make it real. So that, not for them to judge you, but for them to lovingly be able to talk to you about, or you'll feel more comfortable bringing it up when 2 weeks from now you do F it up, right? That way you guys can talk about it. I think that's really important. And be specific in how they can support you, because you don't want them to feel uncomfortable. Tell them, hey, this is what I really need from you, and this is what would be helpful. Because I don't want this to create anxiety, because then you're not going to call them and you're not going to text them. All right. So accountability keeps us accountable to ourselves. You're not accountable to them per se. Remember, you're asking them to hold you accountable to what you say you want. That's what matters, and that's what's cool. This is yours. Today we talked about really working on your self-confidence by actually taking steps towards things that will help that. Things that you want to have in your life. Things you either want to get straight with yourself, things you want to change, things you want to start doing that you were afraid to do before, things you need to get rid of or walk away from that are going to be difficult to do. Things you need to work through and heal. That could be early childhood work. It could be trauma work. Guys, this could be anything, but the rule of thumb is whatever you are not honoring within yourself is hampering your self-confidence. It's hurting your self-esteem big time. It's creating anxiety and depression for you. So remember, building confidence is a process. Take your time, allow it to happen. Just show up and do the work. Just show up and take the step. You fall off the horse, get back on. There's no perfect, and you're the only one who holds the timeline here. Just get back at it. You're going to be tested. Life's going to show up. Life's going to throw some monkey wrenches in. But it just really tests us to see, okay, how bad do you want it? Treat that as a fun challenge. Make this loving, make this as lighthearted and as serious as you can at the same time. Be nice to yourself. No negative self-talk here, guys. Only positive. I can, I will, and I want. And I am. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. May you continue to stay healthy, stay grounded, focus on the good in you and in other people in the world. Be sure to check the show notes at ownitpowercast.com. And again, if you already get the newsletter, you got the 2 downloads today. If not, go ahead and sign up. It's just a newsletter once a week, nothing more. And you can access the past episodes of the newsletter and get to the downloads for the other episodes. So remember, pay it forward. Focus on taking steps, doing what you want to do. And I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you can begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now so you can really own it later.